Oh, great having the chance to speak to you, man, especially because of what we're going to be talking about. You know what? We can go into the music and everything else, but let's just go right into one of the big things that's happening to you in 2025 because it has to do with a Canadian R&B queen, and you've
Mhm.
got a big connection with her. What's going on, man?
That's big sis. I am tasked with, well, I have the pleasure of opening for my big sister, Julie Black, at the Oakwood Theater on February 7th. And I'm super excited and honored that they're trusting me to kick off the tour with good energy.
Okay, how did this connection come together, man? Because you know anybody who knows Julie, and I've known Julie for 20 plus years. She ain't gonna just have anybody come on stage that has to do with her vibe. How did you pull this off, man?
You know what? I mean, there's a like if you follow Julie's legacy, you know that she's always been able to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
she has just been that artist who's elevated from her origins to now and has always grown. And honestly, Big Sis, we've had some conversations that really made me feel validated. And the fact that especially in the Canadian market with black music, the black industry is this big in Canada, and all the links are the same size. So sometimes you feel like you don't have that connection or people aren't as supportive. But to hear her actually say, "Hey, you know what? I'm watching, and all of us are watching to see what you're doing," is a big deal. And to have her trust me in several different ways. She trusted me vocally with the Legacy Awards, a few different performances as well, and even now, just to know that her and her team do trust me to be on stage, it's a big deal. It's an honor. It really
You
is.
just mentioned something. Legacy
Mm-hmm.
Awards, man.
Mm-hmm.
I was there with her induction, and I was there last year too, man.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like for you to see Black excellence at its best?
It's great. It's really dope to see how, we're really putting the lenses on not just music, but all of the contributors to the zeitgeist of what's going on in the industry
Yeah.
on all facets, whether it's social media, whether it's um, performance, writing, direction, directing, TV, film, plays, all of these things, all of the people who have added to who we are. And it's also an honor to be asked to be there on stage. At 2 out of the 3 years, I was on stage supporting Julie Black, but also Deborah Cox when she was inducted in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. So it felt like I belonged for sure.
Oh, hell yeah, you belong, man. Hell yeah,
Thanks,
you
man.
belong. And especially being a Torontonian, I gotta give ups to that, man, because you, Sean Jones, Drew. I mean, like we
Hmm.
got this thing going on here, man. What is it about this? And of course, I can throw out some more names, and they're gonna get mad at
Hmm.
me for forgetting their name. Um, how does it feel, man, knowing that we have this R&B legacy here in Toronto, not just with the males, but the females as well?
Yeah, I think we all share in the same struggle. Well, I'll say some of the names that you've mentioned. We've all shared in the struggle where, and it's not just R&B. Again, it's black music in Canada because the appetite for music in Canada is not black music. It's accepted, it's played, it's the most popular genre of music now. But if you look at the demographics of Canada, it's country, rock, alternative, adult contemporary, those types of things.
Yeah.
So in a time where we were struggling to get recognized because we were also Canadian music contributors, when they weren't, giving black artists their awards during the segments, they do it during the breaks, during the Junos. People, we of course felt slighted and not equals. So yeah, I've seen the struggle. I've seen us really fight to create our own lanes and our own
Yeah.
identities and lean on each other for support as well. I really don't feel like it's crabs in a bucket, which has been the thing that's been said for years. I feel like we've all just been so slighted, and because the industry is so small, that trying to get your own attention and your own thing and build it is so difficult. So when you think of building with somebody else who's got 2 cents to rub together and you've got 2 cents to rub together, sure, 4 cents is better than two, but it's still 4 cents. It's not, you know what I'm saying? We're in a different
Yeah.
time now in terms of the digital era where things are being put out. And I respect Cardinal Official to the world because he's one of the first people at a show. It was starting from Scratch's tribute,
Mhm.
sponsored by Hennessy. And he came on
Mhm.
stage and said, basically, all of you people need to pipe down because some of you didn't want to come around when we were the only ones wearing Maple Leaf jerseys and Blue Jays jerseys and rep in Toronto. When you played our singles, you guys would move to this corner of the club. So don't act like you're gonna bandwagon now.
I
Right.
love Cardi. Cardi would always do that, man. Cardi and I have had some great conversations. And I hear exactly what you're saying there, man.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hope people are I hope it's resonating to them when what you just said, because those words are true. And I know
Mm,
with the battles that I've had, just to be able to do interviews and get them on the air when I was doing radio and stuff like that, it's
mm,
I hear you loud and clear on that. I want to get a little bit into your career though, man,
mm.
with your contributions to all this, the love of music. Because reading your bio, man, true about you and Sesame Street or what?
Yeah, I was on Sesame Street when I was younger.
How did that come about, man? And correct me too. Was it the American Sesame Street? Because if I remember correctly, it was like a Canadian kind of version and an American kind of version. Where were you in all that?
Definitely Canadian Sesame Street.
Okay.
It was one of my teachers in public school basically heard me sing and told my parents we just happened to hear this opportunity come up on CBC. Shout out to CBC because they have been strong ever since I've known them and been able to pronounce the three letters. But yeah, they told my mom about the opportunity because I was always singing, and my parents owned a record store, so music was always around me. And yeah, we ended up, there's a few of us that ended up going to Center Island and singing with a children's singer, and it was on Sesame Street. Yeah.
That's iconic, man. You got to be proud of that when you think about it now, your age. And especially because of what's going on with Sesame Street now, we may be losing it because of HBO.
Mm, yeah, yeah. I mean, we lost Blockbuster to Netflix. We
Yeah.
lost things are changing, and again, going back to music and talking about the appetite, this is what's going on, and we all have to pay attention to as creators and people who are in the industry. We have to pay very close attention to what the appetite of people are and try to feed it, but also feed your spirit so you don't lose yourself.
One thing I got to add though, Blockbuster screwed themselves because they could have had a deal with Netflix before all this stuff happened. But that is that. But
Yep,
everything else you said,
yep,
absolutely true.
yes, sir.
Now, during your journeys, you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, part of an back in the day big reality show, if you want to call it that. Canadian Idol?
I was, yes. I was on Canadian Idol. This was at the tail end of singing with my other three brothers. We were in a group. First, we were called Unique. If you remember back in the day, there was Groove Essentials and Rap Essentials.
Okay.
Okay, so we were on the first Groove Essentials CD, and the group was called Unique at the time, which was not the most unique name. But we changed it to The Show, and we did a lot of performances at the tail end of our album being released. It got shelved because EMI let go of half of their staff.
And the
And
people and the other companies were buying it. The bigger companies were buying out the smaller companies, and a lot of artists. And sorry to interrupt you. A
yeah,
lot of Canadian artists still have their music on the shelf that's never been released
exactly.
and could be released now, and it's heartbreaking.
So my point is, after that deal went belly up, me and the guys, for different reasons, decided to part ways, and I really wanted to sort of prove to myself that I could do something on my own as a solo artist. And that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try Canadian Idol, and it was a really eye-opening experience, particularly because I met a lot of people who were also creators and performers. Just not a bunch of people who wanted to sing and had a dream, which felt good. Like the camaraderie was there. But at a particular point, I realized, you know what, TV is a very different animal. And during that time, I actually was dealing with the loss of a sibling. I had a brand new son that I wanted to spend time with, and I decided to sing myself off the show because I didn't want to do the competition anymore. And that's not a lot of people know that, but I know the game. Everything the Idol did in terms of touring, marketing, like all of that stuff, I already did with my group. So I wanted to see what else could happen. And singing for Canada, don't get me wrong, it's a very different level. Hats
Mhm.
off to CTV Globe Media, and hats off to the entire Fremantle team for Canadian Idol, because they run a very tight ship and they genuinely cared. I will say though that there were some too to the TV side, like me having an emotional moment, and it felt a little. I mean, it just felt. I was reminded that it was TV because I heard them actually saying, keep filming," while I was literally having a breakdown. And one of the producers after that moment came to me with tears in her eyes, and she's like, "You did not have to be here, and I honor you for being here and letting yourself be as vulnerable as you are." And I didn't tell any of the other idols because I didn't want to use that as a crutch. You know what I mean? People want to use their pain or their hurt or their past trauma and try to get some leverage. Matter of fact, some people tried to use it to their benefit. I had a news reporter call and try to have an interview with me and say, "Hey, can you walk me through the scene that your brother was at before he passed away?" And I was like, that's more than just disgusting. It's
Yeah.
it's violating. And somebody else wrote something like Canadian Idol tried to, um, you know, pardon my French, but whore his dead brother to the top. People get really, really out of pocket. And I think in the end, I took away a lot of positives from Canadian Idol, particularly some of my people that I still stay in touch with. Drew Wright, I love you, bro. That's my dog. Top three Canadian Idol, very proud of him. Collingwood, stand up. Uh, it was definitely a really, really cool experience, and I know that I learned a lot, not only from the industry, but I learned a lot about myself from a performance standpoint.
Now, did you go by your birth name when you were performing?
Yeah, yeah, Omar Lunan, yeah,
Okay. You and I did an interview
I believe so.
because back then, when I was with 680 News,
Yep.
I was following Canadian Idol and I interviewed everybody that was on it.
Hmm.
And we always did the interviews when the person was taken off, they lost or whatever. They
Hmm.
would come do the rounds. We
Yeah,
would do the interviews.
yeah, I
I
remember
now
on site. Yeah,
I have to now look back and try to find our picture because I took pictures with everybody.
yeah. I want to see the pictures. I want to
Yeah.
see the
Wow. Because I'm sitting
yeah
there going to
history.
myself, wait a second. Wait a second. We did do an interview back in the day with Idol.
Yeah,
That
I was gonna say I look younger, but black don't crack, son. Come on
no, it
now.
don't. No, it don't. After Idol, I mean, we have a changing world going on. We're having a changing world of music. We're having a changing world where digital is now the thing. Um, you got Spotify, you've got Apple, you've got all these things. How did you maneuver around with your career musically just to be able to make sure that you had a platform to do what you do so well? And especially when we have venues, especially with COVID happening, being lost. How did you maneuver around all of this?
Well, from a live performance perspective, I really honed in on my live while I was performing with the show and afterwards, because me and some friends, the Recipe, shout out my boys, we ran a live music night every Thursday on King Street, just down the street from Joe Mama's. And outside of that, I would still create and still, a lot of my friends who've got plaques on their walls for working with big artists, they would send me music and I'd write and keep my pen sharp. I think now, in terms of the digital age, it's there's nothing wrong with digital. I think it's just understanding what the new scope is and what there's always going to be something new and fresh and a way to get your music to people. And I think even though there's over a billion songs released on Spotify every week, people are constantly looking for music that they can connect to. And I hear people say, "Oh yeah, well, if you're stuck in the '90s and feel like that's the best era of music, I promise you that you're missing out because there are phenomenal artists and amazing writers who will give you that feel." And honestly, I'm seeing and very proud of the Canadian scope. Like Canadians are really stepping up. Daniel Caesar, Glenn Lewis. I can't wait for Big Bro to drop his album. I've
It's
already
coming out
bought it.
soon.
I
Yeah.
I I bought it 3 times on Spotify already. Like, and of course, like Glenn is Big Bro as well. And
Yeah.
I cried real tears to World Outside My Window. And I learned so much from this guy. Actually, on my EP, I said I wanted to work with one of my mentors and somebody who's Grammy adjacent, so I know what to prepare for in the industry. And
Yeah.
he gladly said, "Let's go." So one of the songs on the album, "Change," is co-written with Glenn.
And then you said black don't crack.
Yeah, Glenn was bit by a
Unbelievable with
vampire
him.
years ago. I don't know.
That,
That
that
guy,
I
he doesn't
said that
age.
to him too.
Yeah,
I said you got like victims down there, man. Well, you just I don't
yeah.
know,
Him
man,
and
but
him and Pharrell,
yeah.
for real.
You know what? Let's just jump right into because you did mention it already. Let's
Mhm.
talk about the EP. So I love to do it this way. Um, what is the name of the new EP? How does it represent you in this point in your career? What's it about?
Okay. The EP is called "Risk It All," and for a very long time, I tried to put my validation into other people, and I fell out of love with music for years. Not only that, but there were a lot of like, I'm not perfect. There were a lot of things that held me back from standing in the limelight. To be honest, a lot of behaviors and things that I was very ashamed of in my personal life, and you know, taking advantage of relationships in not the best way, and not being honest with myself or with other people. And instead of hiding behind that, I wanted to step out on faith, and I had to change everything about me and say, if I'm going to do this, I really need to be completely vulnerable and completely open and go for it. Literally lean on faith and not my own understanding. And this is me literally risking it all. So a lot of the songs, thank you. A lot of the songs are very personal in terms of understanding that journey. There's some fun, but I wanted to write songs that I know that people would understand. And it's just a snapshot of some of my personal stuff. But I feel like if I wasn't able to feel what I wrote, then other people wouldn't. So I tried to stay true to that.
Amen to that. The Julie Black show.
Hmm.
Um, what is your portion going to be like? What can we expect?
Honestly, I'm just gonna come out and be me. I expect people to listen to the songs and take in the lyrics and be able to say, you know what, this guy's spitting some truth. And as far as performance is concerned, again, if I'm not feeling it, the crowd won't. So I think that they're gonna walk away at least saying, we've got somebody here that we want to support as the next one up.
What's the date that we get to see you? And again, where is it going to be?
So February 7th at the Oakville
Mhm.
Theater.
Amazing. Amazing. What a way to kick things off. And especially 7 days before Valentine's Day. So if somebody wants to give their significant other an early Valentine's Day gift,
Hmm.
this show is the ticket to get. What's the rest of 2025 looking like for you?
I feel like this year, I'm just open to all the other opportunities. There have been a couple other touring mentions that have come up. I'm gonna sort of keep it under wraps because, of course, until pen's to paper, I'm not too sure. But I feel like I'm just opening myself to creating, to learning, and actually stepping out into the industry on an international level to really figure out where my space is and carve my path. Because it really is time. There's no time like the present, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm looking forward to doing it all. And I also want to shout out my team, SOG, the label, and New Level, for taking a risk on me. They didn't know me from a can of paint, and they're like, let's try something. And in a short span of time, we got the EP, two videos, the third single's on the way, Broken Record from the album. Um, yeah, I'm just grateful for all the things, and we all walk by faith. So it's going to be an interesting 2025. I'm here for it.
Looking forward to it, and hopefully we can do more interviews in the future. Look, congratulations with the EP. Congratulations with this show. I'm looking forward to talking to you more with everything that you're doing in the future, and so glad that we reconnected, man. Congratulations.
Rudy, it's an honor. Thank you so much, my brother.